As promised, while we wait for the new motor, we will make what is sure to be the first and last wiring video I ever do. So, I want to put, like we talked last week, I want to put the arc panel in the glove box, and I still need to find a home for the fuse block. So this is the old panel that came out of the car. We used to have like the shift box, them blah, blah, blah. Stuff we don't need anymore is here. This was on the passenger floor. It's kind of a temporary thing, but he wants to put a seat back in. So arc panel here, it's the big girl. It's the 12 position. And then we've got just your good old Chinese Amazon fuse block. This is ignition stuff. So I kind of do everything the same. I just use the ignition switch, 10 gauge over here, lights this entire block. So all this stuff is ignition controlled. So this is where the Holley gets power, the power windows, power locks, blah, blah, blah. Anything that needs ignition power, come off here. The fans, the starter, fuel pump, water pump, blah, blah, that'll come off here. So I don't necessarily want to mount the arc panel like in the glove box per se. I want it to be behind the glove box. So I'm gonna whip together a panel. It's probably gonna be a disaster, but we're gonna make a panel, we're gonna install it, and then we're gonna install the arc panel. Perfect. So that's pretty much where that's gonna live. It'd be cool to add like a side panel in here just to finish it off nice so you can't see in there when you open the glove box, but we'll save that. I'm gonna leave this side open to run the wires in and out. It's a cool spot to mount it, but it's not gonna be super easy to work on. So I think what I'm gonna do is build like a short harness off of this that wraps around, and then there's a plug on the back side so you can unzip these bolts out of the rib nuts and pull this whole thing out. And then, like showed in the last video, this is the home for the terminator right there. We just used the roll bar clamp from Motion. So I'll sit right there, and now I just need to find a home for the fuse block. Okay, I'm just gonna really hope at this point that my head's not completely in the way. So I'm gonna wire all this stuff up, run around backside to a connector. So this is kind of a tough spot to work on when it's up mounted where it is. It's a nice spot to replace relays and fuses, but if I had to pull the wire off at the track or something, it's obviously stood up facing you. It's just kind of a pain getting a screwdriver down in here, whatever. So we're just gonna make a short harness that wraps around the back, and that way this whole thing can be pre-wired. You can pull out of the car, you can just plug it in. We're just using 12 gauge on this because we've got water pump, fuel, ignition, starter, fan 2, whatever. Everything's gonna want 10 or 12, so I'll probably run 12 around the corner so it moves nice. On the back side, we'll go to a Deutsch connector, and then we'll flip over to a 10 on the other side of the Deutsch connector. It's my handy Irwin stripper that I got from Menards. It's insanely cheap. It's like, I don't know, 7 or 10 bucks. And then I printed these labels before I started the video, obviously, so you didn't have to watch me goof around with that. So I just use like a Rhino 5200 printer to make this. And then I buy the heat shrink in bulk. And I just pre-cut everything to make this process a little bit quicker. So this is a 12 gauge with a small screw opening, so it'll fit pretty good for this. And if you're dumb like me and you bought the wrong heat shrink last time, and it's got lettering on it, just make sure you face the lettering the opposite way so you can't see it. Now I just leave the label loose till the end, so I can just kind of pick where it sits so they all kind of sit the same. You'll see in a second here. Okay, so that's pretty much what it'll look like in the car. Like I said, these wrap around the back with a plug, throw some paint on this, and this should be about ready to go until we get the chassis side wired up and ready to plug into this deal. We're missing a latch. I don't know. It's gone, but there it is, final product. So the arc panel's in, and now we only have 10 more wires to go, plus Holly, plus some other stuff. Okay, don't panic. It's not nearly as bad as it looks. We're just sorting through some things here. So I found a home for the ignition block. The car does have full center console. I'll show you that in a second. So I just bent up a bracket for it, kind of like we did under the dash there. So this will stay here. I don't mind. I used to try to mount the fuse block and the arc panel really close to each other, but it really clutters things up quite a bit. So this would be nice to have some separation, so we can just have like a harness running across and they're not just stacked on top of each other, 1,000 wires. So I'll show you how this works with the center console. Fine line of street car and the serviceability of a race car. So this center console, it's only two 10mm bolts that hold it in. So this is where that goes. There's a cover here for the shifter, and this is just like quick snaps from the factory that hold all this together. Like such. I don't have clips in it right now, but so this is what it looks like when the car's all put together. So nice street car stuff. And then inside of here, we have access to that fuse panel. So we did it this way, so it's actually serviceable, where you can take out the whole center console and all the wiring stays in place. So it's just those two 10mm bolts in the back there hold this in, and then we'll build a cover that goes over this so you can get a center console back still. And that's about the part where my phone died and I got stuff to do, so I can't stop. So anyhow, let's get you caught back up. So we got the water pump and fan harness made. That's this one here. Runs out to the front of the car. Down the fender, swoops through here. Got it found underneath, and then whoop, pops out right here. So we got two connectors, one for the fan, one for the water pump. Then we made a harness for the power windows. That's installed already, but it's right there. So we just added a Deutsch connector to the factory stuff and then built the harness that runs across over, comes back to the ignition block to get power. And then I've got another harness here that's gonna go to the back of the car. This will be fan 2, which is transmission fan and fuel pump. And this is where our water pump fan plugs into. This harness I made for the starter and to power the ignition panel. So we've pretty much got the chassis wiring under control at this point. We've got start, we got ignition, we got fans, we got pumps, we got all that stuff. So we're at a point now where we pretty much just have the Holly to wire. But before a guy gets too carried away, you always like to make sure that everything that you did actually works. Sometimes I like to play a game where you just don't test anything until the whole car is done. But in this instance, for video purposes, we will test it. Ignition. One window, two window. All right, so we'll carry on from here. So it kind of sucks that the phone died when I was building the harnesses for the car, but I figured I could at least show you guys what I'm using. So like I said, the Rhino 5200 is a sweet printer. You can make stickers, you can make heat shrink, whatever. You can do black and white, white on black. Super cheapo stripper from Menards. These things are actually pretty awesome. They're Amazon. I think some of them are, 2 are OTC, 2 are, I don't know, whatever fell off the boat. Tear tape to wrap the loom. Some cheapo loom from Amazon. And I should really switch to the heat gun, but I don't know, I keep using the crack torch for some reason. So that combined with one box from Low Dollar Motorsports. That's where I get all my Deutsch connectors from. There's a lot of places you can order these online. Low Dollar to me is the easiest and best price because there's no minimum quantities or things like that. If you order from Waytech or somebody else, sometimes you gotta order like 10 or 20 at a time. And he has a ton of options. He's got DTP, DTM, big ones, small ones, whatever you need. I took a couple pictures here. There's not a whole lot to this. It's just kind of taking time and laying it out. So here you can see after it's been laid out and then just a little bit of tape along the way so it holds the shape correctly. And then after that, basically just wrapping it, heat shrinking the ends on it, putting your labels in their final place, and then it's pretty well ready to go in the car. So I know that's kind of like a quick dirty overview on how I do like the chassis wiring on it. I'm probably gonna do like a more in-depth video on the Holly stuff. This stuff's all pretty basic. It's just ignition stuff like windows and water pumps and stuff like that. There's like 2 things I try to keep in mind when I'm wiring the cars is A, if down the road somebody wants to say like put a new cage in their car, they should be able to unplug all the stuff, take it out, set it in a box, and reinstall it without having to like cut things, butt connect things back together. You know, things aren't, you know, harnesses to the back aren't intertwined with harnesses to the front, etc. So if you want to strip the rear of your car, you would be able to unplug all the rear stuff, take the harnesses out, reinstall it when you're done, stuff like that. But like I said, when we get to the Holley part, I'll probably do like a little bit more in depth on what does what and how to make bump box works and things like that. So anyhow, the motor is supposed to be here this week. So hopefully the next video I put out, I know there's been like 3-4 weeks between videos, but it's been a little wild around here lately. I quit my job, so that really threw a wrench in the whole system. But hopefully next weekend, the video is us setting the LS3 in the car, and maybe firing it up. We'll see. So stand by for that.